You're listening to The Big Cast, your source for the latest in financial technology. Brought to you weekly by the Best Innovation Group, with your hosts, John Best and Glenn Servati.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Big Cast. My name's John Best. I am the CEO of Best Innovation Group, and with me, as always, is my cohort. That's my word of the day, cohort. Glenn Servati. Glenn, how are you?
I'm better, and I've been promoted from partner in crime, and I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're now a cohort. I've been learning there are lots of different kinds of things I could call you. Like, for example, did you know what a group of weasels is called?
I don't.
Well, Congress. Anyways. But actually, it's called a business of weasels. So there
that's
you go.
a podcast name. That is a new podcast name. I'm reserved.
A business of weasels, also a band name if you're interested. Anyways, so Glenn, I'm going to throw this one over to you. We have a real special guest on. I'll let you introduce him, and let's get going here.
I would call Lou Grilli our official friend of the pod. He's been on a couple of times. I always forget the exact title, but you work on innovation and digital assets at PSCU, Lou. And thanks for joining us. How badly have I butchered your title?
You got it right on. Senior Innovation Strategist at PSCU.
So, and given innovation and given the Best Innovation Group, we are pursuing a conversation. And John, you put a teaser out there a couple of weeks ago when we had a podcast where you played a little snippet of a manufactured voice that you put together based on a bit of kind of raw material that Lou had provided for us. This all comes back to the whole notion of AI and what it can and can't do, and the potential new frontiers it opens up from a fraud standpoint, especially when it comes to voice recognition and voice activated password control. Lou, you mentioned that there were a couple of things in the press that kind of got you particularly interested in this. Maybe we start there and then kind of work our way to the town hall and some of the stuff John was working on.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. So the previous town hall that was discussing AI and uses uses of AI within the financial institution, and that got me interested. Well, I was interested in the topic before that, but that got me interested in the perspective of voice. And I just come across two articles related to AI for voice, and one was very a good use of it. Apple is going to release, at least they announced that they're going to release a service called Personal Voice. So you would record, presumably, some training, say phrases, say words, say read out a document, something like that, and this will allow your iPhone to create a synthesized voice that sounds just like you. And if you're wondering what the purpose of that is, and I was wondering that too, in the event that the iPhone user later becomes speech impaired, instead of that robotic kind of voice that we have come to associate with Stephen Hawking and some other people, instead it would be your voice. So you would text on your phone and it would speak in your own voice. So that sounded good. But then I came across...
By speech impaired, I assume they mean inebriated? Is that what they're trying to say?
No,
just
no.
like
Disease,
you get hammered. This will be
disease.
great for college students who need to talk to the Uber driver. Wow.
I had that same reaction. I'm like, why is this good? I wasn't hearing a virtuous use, but I mean, it's almost like being cryogenically frozen so you can come back in the future when you can no longer do something. That is a very good use case. I can think of very many negative use cases, but I agree that would be a very good use. But anyway,
well, the negative use case.
Yeah, the other example is the negative you got.
Yeah, I was reading the CNN article. It came out in April of 2009. So there's this mother, Jennifer DiStefano. Her phone rings and she answers it, and it sounds just like her 15-year-old daughter, Brianna. And she's greeted by yelling and sobbing. "Mom, I messed up," screams the girl's voice. Brianna is the girl. "What did you do? What happened?" And the mother says the voice sounded just like Bree's, the inflection, everything. Later on in the interview, she said something like, "A mother knows her child. You can hear your child cry across the building and you know it's yours." And the daughter says, "Mom, these bad men have me." And then a male voice comes on and says, "We have your daughter. Listen here, I have your daughter. You call the police, you call anybody. I'm going to pop her." And so the mother froze, ran into another room, calls 911. FBI gets involved. There was I guess, request for $1 million ransom, and somebody thought to call Brianna's actual phone, and she's completely puzzled to not understand what is going on about this. This was all an AI generated voice that sounded. A mother would know her own voice. So that got me thinking. That's obviously like evil use of AI for voice. And then there are some financial institutions and a lot of contact centers use voice for authentication. And that's where I started thinking, well, what if the bad guys use AI generated voice for the authentication? And specifically, I have a Wells Fargo account that a while ago I set up with voice authentication. And that's where John invited me to do a test. John, you want to talk about that part?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give my backstory real fast. So in 20, I think it was 18, we started working on we being our innovation club. So at Best Innovation Group, we have a group of 16 credit unions that meet monthly, and we do big. It leads a concept around innovation, and we've gone through things like crypto. We've not so much the technology or the products, but more the technology itself, looking for things that are looking for things that are sort of exponential technologies. And we ran across the voice cloning, and it was very, very interesting. We sat down, we went over it as a group, and at the time, a lot of Koreans were implementing things like Nuance, Illuma Labs, really great products that detect voice. And I actually had an ulterior motive for it, which was when I was young, my dad would leave on TDY for a long, long time. And because he was kind of a technology guy, one of the things he would do, because he couldn't have long phone conversations because it cost a lot of money, is he would send us tapes. He would send us tapes of just him talking, cassette tapes that he would record in his little apartment in wherever he was, which we never really knew.
What
I
was
have a lot of those. And
TDY? What is that?
what is TDY? I don't remember the acronym for it. All us kids just knew it as TDY. Something, I have to look that up.
This was like basically, was it military contractor oriented?
Oh yeah, if you were military, no, not contract. This is actually him in the army, and where I lived was all of our dads would go just be gone for 6 months at a time sometimes.
Interesting.
To different places. We're really sure. I'll give you this. It was around the time the ICBM missiles were being installed all around the world. So just take from that what you will. Anyways, fast forward to 2023. ChatGPT comes out, and it's really obvious there was that this technology is exponential for a lot of things. There was a song called Deep Fake Drake. Well, it wasn't really a song. The song was called something else, but there was a group that basically made music that sounded exactly like famous pop stars, and turned out it wasn't them, and it kind of fooled the internet. And I thought, this is interesting, and had the same thought. And then the article came out that Lou was reading regarding the kidnapping, and I kind of had the same thought as Lou. I was like, oh, it's time to revisit this. It was okay and interesting, in 2018 when we looked at it. It wasn't great. So we had Lou and all of us on a town hall. If you haven't come to one of our town halls, the big town halls happen. I believe now they're once a month, and they're on a Wednesday usually. I think almost always. And in this particular town hall, I usually discuss the news of the day as it relates to technology and try to relate it back to credit unions like fraud. And I thought, yeah, there's definitely a nefarious use case for this. And because what got me to it, Lou, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, was people spoofing members' actual, phone numbers, their Annies. That's become a big thing, right? In the synthetic account stuff. And so if you're going to take the time to spoof a phone number to get around something that's checking Annie. And for those of you that don't know, the Annie is sort of the number that you come in from in a call center. So if you call, somewhere on the screen, your actual phone number is up there. It's one of the things that the credit union can use to determine if it's actually you. And, in the last 2-3 years, it's become a thing to use various services to basically hack that and spoof a particular number. So not only can I call the credit union, pretend to be you because I have all your personal information from the dark web, but I also can defeat yet another check, which is to actually call from the phone number that is on record or on file at the credit union, which gives another piece. And I thought to myself, if they're willing to do that, Lou, would they be willing to use this voice technology to try to defeat it? And my answer was instantly, absolutely, right? Why wouldn't they?
Let me
Um,
stop just real quickly. Two things to kind of insert. One, Lou, I'm assuming that, as you said, if you're going to make the effort to go to this much work, that example you gave of the mother who got the fake phone call from her daughter, I'm assuming they spoofed the phone number, so she thought it was her daughter calling on her own phone. I don't know if that was in.
According to Nope, according to the article, the she didn't recognize the phone number that was coming from, but she had some inkling because her daughter was out traveling that she should answer it, even though she didn't recognize the number, just in case the
I know
daughter was in
that
trouble.
inkling. Yep.
Aha. Interesting. And then the other thing I was just going to mention, we'll post links in the show notes to the podcast to the episode of the town hall. And as you said, John, every once a month on a Wednesday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. There is one coming up, and I think you're going to be following up on this ChatGPT topic. If you're listening
Hmm.
right when we post this, it'll be up very quickly on Wednesday, June 21st. You can listen in live, registration required, but no fee. Just let us know you want to join, and you will send you the passcode. And if you don't hear it before then, no worries. You can always check the replay on the CU Town Hall website, cutownhall.com. And you could probably listen to both and kind of get part one and part two. With that promotional announcement out of the way, John, why don't you continue?
Sure. Longtime fan, first time listener of Lou and his podcast, and love Lou, and of course he's always awesome. One of the things about the town hall is not just me yakking at people or trying to go through a presentation. It is a conversation, and I love it. I guess that's sort of the premise of a town hall. That's why I called it that. And Lou jumped in and kind of gave us some ideas, and Lou, I'll let you take it from there for the experiment.
Okay, so the way the AI is able to generate a voice is by taking in the recorded speech. So I had to read it was like 10 lines each, four different pages of those, and then the AI turns around and then can create me speaking in whatever text you want me to be saying, even though it's not me. So we did this experiment. I have a Wells Fargo account, and I set up voice print at Wells Fargo. So I'm calling from my mobile. It recognizes the Annie, as John said, that's easily spoofable. And then instead of having to type in a PIN, I have to repeat the catchphrase, "My voice is my password. Please authenticate me," something like that. And so John created that, me doing that. I didn't think it sounded much like me, but Glenn certainly did. And so I tried it. I made several attempts, and just I'll cut to the chase.
Hold on.
I'm
Oh, wait,
I'm
let's build
oh,
the suspense. Let's build the
Right,
suspense.
right. So
okay.
before we do that,
And I have a couple of questions on that too. Were you already using the voice activated password feature before this experiment?
Yes.
Okay, so you
Yep.
know it
And it
works
works
normally.
and it works phenomenally every
Okay.
time.
That's interesting
okay,
itself. And I want to go back to the point that, as you said, I remember when John put together, and I want to get into how John actually manufactured this sample. And I think he did it through a couple of different means at different levels of digital quality and fidelity. But I find it interesting that you say you didn't think it sounded like you. And we had a little bit of a conversation before we
well,
started
and
here.
let's let the listeners.
Nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that.
Glenn, let's let the listeners decide. So here's what
Good
we'll do.
point. Good point.
Let's let Lou say it. So Lou, I want you to do it just like you would. Give me like 3 takes, just like I did on the digital, and then let's have our producers go ahead and cut in and play the versions of it that I made, the high quality version. So Lou, go ahead.
Okay. I hope I remember the phrase right. My voice is my password. Please authenticate me. My voice is my password. Please authenticate me. My voice is my password. Please authenticate me.
Great.
Perfect.
That third
All
one
right.
is the third one is the one I use when I'm annoyed in my car and I'm just calling in to see if like something's happened.
Yeah. So here we go.
My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me.
All right. So it's pretty clear that, I thought I was actually blown away by how close it sounded to Lou. Like
I did too.
Lou has this interesting texture to his voice. He almost sounds like a radio guy in whenever he speaks. And Lou, where did you grow up? Just real fast, if you don't mind sharing where you're, where you grew up at.
Yeah, city of Boston.
Austin, Texas. I thought
No,
I
no, Boston,
detected.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, Boston. So I thought I like when I hear it, there's an edge to the end of your voice that very much I don't know who I can compare it to, but it's very distinct and there's a little bit of an accent there. I'm often told I have
Hmm.
no accent because I grew up in Germany. So, as an American, so I have a just weird kind of hodgepodge, but I could hear something. So
I
for
would
those of
not
you
have. I would
listeners,
not have heard Boston, which is interesting. So,
yeah, I actually would have heard Austin before I heard Boston clearly, but I can't hear as it is. So the process was as follows. First of all, let's have Jackie jump in again. Jackie is our producer, and we're going to have her play just a little bit of the sentences that I had him read. These sentences are phonetically balanced, and they're primarily used for things like this to duplicate voices. They're actually from the Harvard website, which Lou was kind enough to read to me. Lou, Lou, just real quick, did you use any special microphones, or did I tell you you had to record this in a certain way or anything like that, other than just the website and send me some files?
No, I think the same setup that I'm on right now with my earbuds on, just reading it into the phone and saving it as recorded files.
That's exactly what it sounded like you did. So Lou is jamming this out. I then took that and I put it into a program. The program is running on a box I have at my house that's running Linux. You could run this on a Mac. You could run it on Windows. I choose Linux because in this case, I also wanted it to be fast. I have two very, very high-end graphics cards called GPUs in the box. Not very, very high-end, but high-end enough. They probably cost anywhere from I'd say 1,200 to 1,500 bucks a piece. And interesting, that's a whole nother episode to talk about NVIDIA. And by the way, I think at some point we can go back in this podcast and you asked me, hey, what do you think which companies are really going to benefit? And I told you my pickaxe gold story and I told you about NVIDIA. That was I remember distinctly having that conversation and Glenn completely saying I was wrong. He thought Toys R Us was going to benefit from it. I told him he thought that it was, Teddy Ruxpin would be back. I told him no. Anyways, moving on. I then fed the overall. I cut up the voice that Lou sent me into 10-second intervals. The reason I did that was because the system. It's interesting that people sometimes believe that like there's a comprehension to the sentences or anything, and it's absolutely not how it works. It's really more about sort of connecting the phonetics to the distinct versions of his voice. And one of the ways you do that is you cut it up into 10-second intervals. I used all of what he sent me, resulted in approximately, I think, 150 files or so of 10-second intervals of MP3s, basically. I converted those to WAV files at a very particular hertz so that they would, get picked up by the system. And I tossed them in the folder. And then I ran a command line that said, make me basically an MP3 using these files and your process, which is a model that creates voice. By the way, there are models out there that people can download. And that's what's happening right now when you go to these sites or you hear them on YouTube. They're not the Hawkings, but they do sound, if you haven't noticed lately, the sort of AI voiceovers on YouTube are getting better and better and better. That's because of the software. And there's particular models of voices out there. And then what ended up happening was I could generate it, and it could generate it what we call fast, which means that, hey, go ahead and do this, but don't spend a ton of time on it, use the minimum sort of quality. And then I generated it in what they call standard quality, and then I generated it in high quality. And just to give you some idea, the fast one took about 27 minutes or so.
that's
The standard
that's the
one,
fast one. Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Longer than I thought.
the standard one took like I want to say it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And then the high quality one, definitely it took like 4 hours or something. And that's with my two NVIDIA 3090s, and a very fast Linux box with 128 meg of RAM,
And this,
gig of RAM.
to kind of, since we're giving people a peek behind the curtain on this one, we were originally going to record this a couple of weeks earlier. And when we discovered that high quality version was taking that much time, kind of tying up your computer, we realized that we were going to run past the common time we all had available to discuss it. And then there was travel that got in the way. So that's one of the reasons we're having this discussion today. But yeah,
so
that's interesting that it literally still takes that long, even with those kind of high quality chips.
Sure. So, and that also was tested on my Mac M2 Max. But anyways, let's have Jackie play just a sample of each of the versions. So first, let's do the fast, or what I would call the lower quality version.
My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me.
All right. Now let's play the standard version.
My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me.
And now the high quality or HQ version.
My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me. My voice is my password. Please verify me.
And you could definitely hear a distinct difference between those three, particularly in enunciations. Enunciations. I will say this correctly. Enunciations.
That sounds true.
Enunciations. But yeah, it definitely has. You can hear the difference, particularly in sort of the end. And I've become a little bit of a linguistic expert because as I said, I've been taking my dad's recordings and building some stuff for my mom and other people. So anyways, you can hear sort of a distinct difference in the enunciations, particularly at the end of hard sounds. I don't know how to put it. Like in my voice is my authentic. You can hear that if you listen.
Although,
So anyways,
I mean, when I think about it, though, I mean, that's one thing if you're recording something for an audiobook or like posterity, like you're talking about with your father's old recordings. But if you're talking about a voice password, it's got to work when you're walking on the street and there's background noise. So in theory, it shouldn't require that kind of high quality fidelity because it's probably not going to come through the line anyway. Wouldn't you think?
Right, but it wasn't about the fidelity of it. It was more about like how close can I get to Lou's voice, because I'm not sure what aspects Wells Fargo is looking at. And let's switch it over to Lou now. Let's switch it over to Lou. So I passed these over to Lou via Dropbox. And Lou, what was your first impression of first Lou told me, hey, that's not the whole sentence, which I should have looked up, and that was on me. So I had to redo a few of them. But go ahead, Lou.
No, I think that was on me. I think I forgot to because I hadn't used that voice authentication. I don't use voice banking that often. So I got the recording. I got three. There were a total of 9 different WAV files, and so I played the WAV files on the laptop through the little laptop speakers while I was on a speakerphone call with Wells Fargo, and I did one from each, the fast, the standard, the high quality. And after 3 tries, I started thinking, when are they going to flag my account as attempting to be hacked? So I stopped that day. I picked it up, picking up 3 different versions the next day. And then I just tried yesterday one more time. And this time I hooked the laptop up to the home theater system. And I played it through, nice surround sound speakers, hoping that it wasn't just the fact that it was coming out of my little laptop speakers and that may have been distorting things. So I played it through the big speakers on a voice call and on a speakerphone call, and it still would not authenticate me. So on the one side, I'm pleasantly surprised that the experiment did not work, because that is just too easy. If it was, granted, there's not a whole lot of things you can do on voice banking, but if it's that good, then after the bad guys get connected through to a call center rep, and then what if they then have me saying, I'd like to send a wire, and then programming all there's some scary potential there. I'm also a little suspicious. I'm not done with this experiment yet, playing my voice back through speakers and
Aha, I
having the
was thinking
speaker
that.
being picked, yep, and having the speaker picked up by the microphone on the mobile, which is on the voice call. If there was some way to inject the output of the WAV file directly into the phone call, then I wonder if that would
And
be
there is, and
eliminating.
there is.
I'm also wondering,
So
is
So wait,
there?
but let
Okay.
me finish Lou's thought here. Lou's right
go
on,
ahead.
and I agree, Lou. I think there is a way to do that, and I don't know that it'll fix it or not. I still think they may defeat us, but I will help move in that direction with you because but I wanted to ask a quick question, Lou. Given in it, do you think that if let's pretend it's 2027, I'm going to give us 4 years, and now I can just talk into a microphone and it comes out as Lou. And let's pretend that the voice you heard is Lou. I could talk or type, I guess. Do you think that that voice thing I sent you would, well, let me ask you this. Would it defeat a family friend? Like if it said, like, just pretend that you called a family friend, you weren't connected to your stereo, you could sort of inject it like you talked about. And the
Mhm.
first sentence was just, hey, this is Lou. I wanted to check in. How's everything going or something that was you. Do you think that, and then you picked up yourself, do you think it would defeat sort of a family friend?
I absolutely think that that is doable. The technology is already so close that I don't think I would have been too surprised if it did work, if I was able to use that AI generated voice to authenticate me in voice banking. Um,
Mm,
and
mm,
yeah, and I think it's just a matter of first, how to play it back correctly, and the bad guys are better at it than I am. And then the voice even getting more real time. So instead of taking 27 minutes to generate it, to be able to do it on the fly,
yes.
just like Google Translate, but we're talking
Yes.
about like evil Translate or something like that. So yeah,
Yes. Well, by the way,
and
I
that's
could
where
have you instantly speaking German if you'd like me to. I wonder if it picks up different languages. We could try that too.
oh, there's different like guttural patterns in
Yeah.
different languages.
I will send you a version of you speaking German. We'll have it. I'll run it today, and we'll include it in this podcast just to see what it sounds
Make
like
it
for any German
make
speakers
it
out
the
there.
outro. Have Lou give our usual our
Yeah, I'll have Lou give our
greeting.
outro in German. I like that. That's a great. Well, we could have Lou say whatever we want now that we have copied his voice.
Two thoughts that come to my mind. One, we really screwed up by not getting Wells to sponsor this episode because we've proven right now that at least at this stage of the game, their security is doing the trick. And then two, I'm just thinking. I mean, we're talking
Mhm.
about
They're
injecting.
a co-op, right? That Wells Group
That's right.
you're talking about.
We're also, we're talking about injecting these sound files directly in to get a better reading. But I'm also thinking, Lou, have you ever authenticated in your real, use of the technology on speaker as opposed to actually just speaking into?
Yes.
Oh, you have. Okay, so I was wondering if just using the speaker itself might be enough to read
Well,
real Lou.
let me give a. I'll be the tech geek for a second. You ever been on the phone with someone at the airport?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Glenn, you and I have been on the phone at the airport many times,
Yep.
and like the dude over the loudspeaker comes on, and to
Yes.
you, the person on the other end of the phone, it sounds like the dude put a bullhorn in your ear.
Hmm.
Same thing when you're on a
Hmm.
plane, and that's because the frequencies of overhead PA systems, public announcement systems, those sorts of things, they're built in a way to sort of, even speakers and things like that, they're built in a way that microphones pick them up very differently. And here's the other thing. So even with you playing it on even playing it on a stereo system, your phone is actually very sophisticated and designed to sort of pick up and remove background noise, even if it's you. It sounds like you to it because it's looking for anything that, basically what it hears in the speaker. That's what noise cancellation is. So I
Right.
think there's definitely tools that you can, and I'll find one. There's an app that you can just play something right into a phone conversation, and we certainly will send that through. But we are not done with this. The reason we're not done with this yet, Lou, is because, well, one, if you know nothing about me, and not been paying attention all these years, I am nothing if not pretty obstinate and very, very tenacious about these sorts of things. So I am going to work with you a little bit more. I love your ideas. I always do. And you and I have collaborated on many things. And I thank you for that over the years, as well as your support for this podcast. Um, so yeah, we're happy to, I've got some other ideas to try. And interestingly enough, just throwing out some use cases for this that are real life use cases besides the losing of your voice, which I think is a great one. There are a lot of people who are like big name brands who there's versions of this out there supposedly where you can have it read an audiobook for you. So in other words, let's say you're Tony Robbins, and he writes books that are enormously long, and people want to hear him read it. And it's a lot of time out of his life to read one of these books into an audiobook format. So maybe in the future he could have Tony Robbins AI version read it, and it would be just as good. There is the use case of people losing their voice. There is the big use case I see, and I'll leave it on this. So you ready, Lou?
Yep, ready.
Okay. So we've been talking about a unicorn for many, many years, and the unicorn product is called the Switch Kit. Tell them what a Switch Kit is.
The ability to change from one financial institution to another without all the rigmarole. How's that? Is that right?
That's it. And for years, we've done things like, well, here, fill out this form and send it to your bank or send it to your whatever, and they'll switch things over, which, yeah, we know what they do with those forms. They're not in their version of it, and they round file them when they show up. But it's always been the dream is that, hey, Lou, you will join, this incredible credit union and you will switch all your money over, and it's super simple to do. And here you go.
Can I put a caveat on that? It has always been the dream of the institution that is receiving the account. It is the nightmare of this institution losing the account.
Well, welcome to my nightmare. Isn't that an Alice Cooper song?
Alice Cooper.
Yeah. So, the ability for the ability to have an AI agent that sounds like Lou, knows the things that Lou does, could speak on Lou's behalf, which, by the way, I've already tested some of this. Like, if you're a writer and you've written a book or something, ChatGPT seems to have read that book from what I can tell. And my book, it definitely read, and I can go, pretend you're me, John Best, the writer of Breaking. Now, it can't speak as me like in an informal context about my family or kids or anything, but certainly from a business perspective, it can really sound a lot like me because it's apparently imbibed the concepts of my book.
That's interesting. So it will, if you ask ChatGPT, it has ingested the thoughts you put into your book.
I don't know for sure. I can't say that legally, but I can tell you it seems to know a lot about my book when I talk to it about it, which was an experiment I did. So Lou, imagine that it's 2027. I'm using this 4-year horizon. And, now Wells Fargo has the ability for you to add what we call a virtual joint. And no, it's not a cannabis related thing, Glenn. Just stop. Okay. Just stop with the cannabis stuff, Glenn. Anyways, this virtual joint is really just an AI version of you that you send on tasks on a daily basis. And one of those tasks might be to call the bank and do something. But now, and it sounds just like you, and it knows all of the answers to your security questions. It'd be no different than having sort of a concierge or
right.
It would run off the same concept as Mint or Yodlee, right? Which is really just a virtual you that Mint runs on behalf that knows your username and password and goes and gets your data. So this virtual you calls in and goes, I want to close my account and I want to ACH all the money to here. And I pass the voice authentication. Not only that, but it's a virtual me. And it doesn't need any APIs. It doesn't need any file folders. It's just going to talk to a call center representative, and it won't give up until it switches it over. And that's why the laws in this country are going to have to change and all kinds of stuff. So there you go. Did I hurt your head, Lou?
There are so many use cases that we can't even conceive of right now.
So true.
And that's why I'm conceiving of an episode just called Welcome to My Nightmare. I think we're all set.
I think that's the name of it. Welcome to my nightmare, my buddy Alice. Lou, as always, I just for those of you who have encountered Lou in your travels, what an incredible support he's been through his many years in the industry, And
thank you, John.
it just, all the effort and his indelible mark on the industry for all he's done. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to even experiment with this with us. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Let me break in for just 1 second, because next week we are actually taking a hiatus from the big cast, because it actually would typically, our new content would be coming out on July 4th. And we're going to let the fireworks speak for themselves. So,
I think we're going to put out a recording of Lou singing the national anthem now that I have his voice. Also, I'd like to hear him sing that song, I'm Proud to Be an American, which, by the way, I can do that, by the way, Lou. You gave me enough. I was thinking you were mentioning the famous Lou's, Sweet Lou Piniella,
right?
In the ramble up to this podcast. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to have, Lou do some Lou Reed singing, a little bit of Velvet Underground, just for, my man Glenn. And Glenn, was there a particular song you'd like to hear Lou sing?
Let's stick with let's stick with the sweet theme and go with Sweet Jane.
Sweet Jane. There you. Oh wait, back to the cannabis.
I was going to say,
God darn it,
full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Anyways,
thanks everybody.
Take care.
Check back each week for the latest from the big cast. Or better yet, we hope you'll consider subscribing for free via Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Tweet us at Big FinTech, email info@big-fintech.com, or visit us at big-fintech.com and click on the Media tab, where you can post a comment or check out our archive of hundreds of past episodes. See you next week.